Abhyasena yoga. Vairagya is there, but Abhyasa is the first step to Vairagya. It means unless you practice, you don't get it. That is what Krishna told very clearly. Abhyasena tu yogena vairagyena cha gruhyate. By Abhyasa, as yoga of Abhyasa, a determined, persistent, unbroken practice. If it falls, pick up again. If falls, pick up again. Keep doing that so many times that it becomes a habit, natural to you. Vairagya. What Vairagya? Practice Vairagya as Abhyasa is what I am saying. Not wanting to do something, not because you hate it, not because I told it, not because somebody will punish you, not because there is no one to talk. I don't want to do it. With everything around me, Vashikara Sangya, I am in control of myself and I decide what to do and what not to do. Beyond that, I won't speak. Vairagyena chagriyate. Then that kind of Vairagya, which is para Vairagya, not apara Vairagya, that will help us to contain ourselves and not do things without control, without that self-restraint. That's all it is. Anyway, I'm sure you should be having a good enough reason for speaking more than 50 sentences today. Like I had a good reason. We had a morning Gurukulam app launch. It's an online classes on YouTube. And children from 6th to 12th can go log in, click on their class, click on their subject and can go through the video, and they have done quite well. 200 videos in hardly 2 weeks time and recorded well, presented well. Our teachers have done good job. And all that is now available to the whole world. It's not just for the students of the Satya Sai educational institutions here, but this Satya Sai Lok Seva Gurukulam course content, the teaching lessons and all other things are available to all the children around the world. And I was telling them that in India itself, more than close to around 25 crore children will be there who are going to schools and PU colleges and high schools and things like that. Out of that, at least 16 crore going to high school levels in some school or the other. Out of that, at least 8 crore children are in government schools and similar facilities where they don't get enough quality teaching, quality infrastructure, and they may sometimes not even go to high school because the dropout rate at the high school level, from high school to PUC, is very severe, steep. In the sense, out of 100 children who are there in primary school, probably 50 or 60 will go into the high school. Out of those 50, 60 go into the high school, probably 25 go into the PUC and 10 go into the, because the colleges are also in the same proportions. It's not nearby. So children study till 9th class or whatever, 14 years compulsory. After that, they can take up any job, coolie job or even a small job in a mechanic shop or factory. So they think that parents think they need to earn, and therefore they sometimes withdraw them from the school. Sometimes they themselves withdraw because they are not interested. It's not being taught so well. The facilities are not enough. So for all of them, this educational content is free and it's available. Even if they have dropped out of the school, they can go back, study using these contents, and then even write a open schooling exam and get a certificate for themselves. This is for those who are in that situation. Some people asked me, Swami, you are teaching Vedanta. Why should we chant this Chamakam and all that? No? Give me this, give me that. Why should we chant Chamakam? Don't chant for yourself, but chant for those who are not having that understanding of Vedanta still, whose stomachs, suppose your breakfast was not served today, lunch was not served, evening tea, coffee, tiffin, nothing was available. There was no room to stay in the ashram. You are on your own under a tree, let us say. Would you think of Vedanta or you will chant Chamakam? Naturally, you will chant Chamakam, not in the technical sense, but at least I should have had a breakfast. If not breakfast, at least lunch. Forget lunch. Somebody should have given me some tiffin tea before I went to satsang. If I did not get a private room to stay, at least some dormitory should have been allotted to me. Will we not tell all these things? For there is a large part of the world, for them, basics are not met. Therefore, for them, this Chamakam is important. When you pray, don't just pray for yourself. You pray. When I started Rudram, when this virus issue started, and I said, every day you should chant Rudram. That please, O Rudra, you are the ultimate destroyer of everything. So you can even destroy a virus if you decide. No scientists are able to destroy. It's almost 5 months to this story. Now medication has come, all experimentations are going on. Plasma therapy, hydroxychloroquine, now some other new COVID related things they are doing. But none of them have effectively, confirmingly proven that this is done. Every other week we hear Israel has done something, now some other country is coming up with some other thing, America is working with India, India is going to come up in 6 months, somebody says with Cambridge some research is going on. We are hearing that, but nothing has happened so far. And now the latest news is that you might have to live with this virus forever, because it mutates itself so quickly. Once it lodges itself inside the body, whatever little treatment, medication, whatever therapy has been given, for the time being it calms down, like our Vairagya. Time being, it settles down, does not trouble. Suddenly temperature drops, we are breathing normally, doctors say you are cured, go home. But you are never too sure of this virus, they are saying, because it has so many mutations and it is very clever. So if something has been used to stop it, it finds another way to grow. And sooner or later it will show up again, like our desires and thoughts, which we are thinking that we have gotten rid of, using all little practices of pranayama, pratyahara. That all we have done in the last 2 weeks. But we are never too sure. It's like this coronavirus. It may just come back with another mutation in another form, you never know. Like this boy, it didn't come as a sweet, it came as a chocolate. If not chocolate, it will come as ice cream. Essence is same, everything is sweet to the tongue. So how do you know it is the same thing? By tasting, it is the same thing. Looks are different, size, shape, color, texture, and the origin, they may be different for all these various varieties of sweets. But ultimately, when you put it on tongue, you know this is sweet only. Look at this fellow's audacity, comes and asks me, is chocolate considered under the sweet category? How does it taste on your tongue, I asked. Does it taste bitter, sour? Sweet only, it's a sweet. It has sugar in it. Likewise, these desires will come back like this coronavirus, and people keep claiming, I have got a cure and I'm going to find out how to do it. Keep claiming. Sometime back when Narsimurti was there, he was telling about this corona and what will happen. I said, this is something that we will have to be careful about. It's not about curing it with some medication. We may temporarily do it, but I don't see it as something that can be cured forever with some kind of a medication, vaccine or something like that. I personally see it as something that is come here to stay, and will keep us conscious about our habits, our movements, our interactions, our activities. It will keep us conscious. It's good in that way. At least it gives us some restraint on ourselves. There are millions of viruses everywhere. In our own body, there's no count of how many microorganisms are living. Even they, when they go out of numbers, like they become too many in numbers, they become harmful for us. Infections become harmful. This is nothing but extra bacteria over there. Viruses, we get influenza, we get throat pain, cold, cough. If you don't do something about it and start, what happens when some child gets cold or cough? What will mother say? Don't eat ice cream. Don't put on the AC. Don't go out in the cold. Wear your sweater, wear your cap, wear your scarf. Same thing is with mind. Is there a cure for cold? There is no cure for cold. But can somebody be free from cold? Yes, somebody can be. What is somebody? Vairagya. Or this discipline. I'll wear sweater and cap and plug my ears and go out. I'll wear socks and gloves. I will not go out just like that, because I know there is no cure for it. If it comes and catches me big time, it's possible that it may take my life. Likewise, the desires are, which may come and go for the time being because of these 2 weeks of some sadhana. After 2 more weeks, if you stop all these things, then it will come back again. However, only if you have ultimately, luckily for corona, there is no vaccine so far, but for desires and this thing, there is vaccine. Jnana is the vaccine. That is what I was telling yesterday to them. That with jnana, you can cut off these roots, this Urdhva Mula Adashaka, that Ashwatha, which they talk about, which origin is in the God, and the branches go down, and prop roots go and catch hold of the earth. These are the attachments. Though we are born from God, we grow towards the earth and get caught. So what can you do? Asanga Shastrena, not the Dridhena, not the area Dridha, determination, Chitva, cut it. So that kind of Jnana Khadga is there with us, that Asanga Shastra is there with us in terms of Vairagya. So that was the conclusion of till yesterday's talks that we have done observing our mind, we have done classifying our thoughts, we have also understood which is right, which is not right, and to some extent we have practiced consciously giving up those things. It shows in the food habits that have changed for us, the sleep patterns that have changed, the desire to chat up unnecessarily has reduced, the the temptation to keep unnecessary scrolling through our phones and computers has come down, and generally we are wanting to be with ourselves. You see, some time to ourselves, we feel that peace. Some improvement has happened or not, I hope it has happened. Some improvement, even if it's 1%, it is an improvement. So let us assume that there is some improvement which has happened. And today, of course, there are people who have managed to speak less than 50 sentences because they consciously kept themselves away from certain activities, interactions. For others, there was no choice because they had a reason. They spoke because it was necessary. I told them yesterday, don't irritate your people around with and all that stuff. Then they will all be upset with you. That is not the idea of troubling others, because you have become peaceful by not speaking, but you have destroyed the peace of everybody around. That's why Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. They are also gods. Don't disturb and trouble them. You alone are God is not enough. They are also gods, so you should behave accordingly. So where there was necessity, understand there was an importance, you spoke. And some people would have managed with long, complex sentences. I was going on the way to canteen, there I had the idli, and then I met this person while the store was opening. I thought I would go in and buy something. That's where I met this man, and so I asked him if he was all right, because 2 days back he was not so all right, and so all your ands, ifs, because, therefore, everything will get used up today. Why? Because one big complex sentence, finally say it's only one sentence. See, if you are in that category, you please be honest to yourself. You don't have to be dishonest here. You know, Atma Sakshi you are. So you should understand what you have done. Anyways, if that has helped you in each ways, I am happy. If it's not happened today, tomorrow you should try again. And now you should already start thinking which are the things which were unnecessarily spoken today. I could have avoided that. So tomorrow I can work on those, because I need to go -10. Not this kind of complex sentences. Simple sentences where there is necessity, speak and copy, be quiet. If it's necessary only, otherwise not necessary. I said life is very simple. Just do what is necessary, life is be simple. Whatever we don't do, we do more than necessary, that's when the trouble starts. Somebody sent me a message, and very beautifully said, the economy is collapsing today because people are not wanting to buy what they don't want with the money that they don't have. You understand what it is? If they're simply buying food, basic clothing, and simple things of life, the economy is collapsing. Because all these while economies were growing by people buying things which they don't need with the money that they don't have. It's borrowing money from banks and economy. Today, even one more message, even superior than he said that all the cyclists should be banned because they're destroying economies. Because when they take to cycle, they don't buy fuel, they don't go to pump stations, they don't swipe their cars, they then don't take loans. Then the banks don't work because loans are not there. And everything starts collapsing. You don't have car, you don't have car loan, you don't have car insurance, you don't spend on fuel, you don't spend on garage, you don't spend paying your EMIs, nothing. Because you're cycling. He said the cyclists are destroying the economy. And if cyclists are destroying economy, walkers should be totally banned because they don't even buy bicycle. So they're danger to the economy. Why this economy is like this? Because we always have been doing unnecessary things. It means world's GDP would have been something else. Probably just if you remove military from it, if you remove luxury items, if you remove unnecessary travel, talk and purchases, probably the whole world economy would have collapsed to not even 10% of what it is today, because that is what is basically required for everyone. Rest is all bubble. So man's greed, man's desires are the reason for where the world is today. So, because people don't want to spend their money on unnecessary, unwanted things. So suddenly all those who sold us, dream merchants as they call, they sold us big dreams. They are all finding there is no basis for them to now convince us. Who is going to buy all these things now? Real estate prices are crashing. People are not buying luxury cars, watches, bags, houses. No travels, no cruises, no travels and holidays. Even clothing and everything, apparel and basics also, people will now start looking carefully at it because we don't know. We never know. Today corona has come, tomorrow another cousin of corona will come. We never know where we are heading, so everybody is careful. So they're keeping money for the basics like food. In food also, what we can cook at home and eat. Because we don't know, even if you order from outside, if that is free of all the viruses, nobody is sure. So these people who are health conscious are destroying the economy. That's what they're saying. They don't eat pizzas anymore. They don't want to go to, if they eat pizza like sweets, they'll put on weight, then they'll go to a doctor for hypertension, diabetes, heart problems, then drug pharmacies will grow, health insurances will grow, then the tension that will come to them, then psychologists will grow. Like this we have been living. Look at the bubble that we have been living in so far. This is what you are. You thought you were somebody else, something else. The world is now facing this grave danger that if they become good, they will collapse. Look at the plight of the world. If they continue to remain bad, they will continue. If they become good, then a lot of things will collapse around us. But I always say, Dharmo Rakshati Rakshita. Those who live by Dharma, they're protected by Dharma. That is the ultimate Dharma, ultimate law of the universe. Dharma is the ultimate law. Everybody is bound by it. So as you start reducing your desires, wants, all other things will start reducing. The temptations to spend the money unwantingly, unnecessarily, or to buy things which you don't require, or to talk to people on things which are unnecessary, or simply go and meet people where there is no requirement for it, or entertain yourselves in ways which is not nice, because you already know now how to entertain yourself. You are generally in a state of peace. You're generally in a state of calmness, and you are happy by yourself. That is what is said of those who know Brahman. Atma Krida, Atma Rati Kriyavan. They are happy within this. Atma Krida, they are playing within themselves. Atma Rati, they are enjoying within themselves. Kriyavan, still they are active. Doing what is necessary, they do, and then they are back. So that is the state that you must aspire to attain, so that you get rid of the silly desires once for all. Vairagya dawns and stays. Doesn't go. Like this corona, it will come and go. Or again come back, we never know. But this Vairagya, which is born out of great determination, Abhyasa and Jnana, is here to stay. And why is it possible? Why this boy has done when I say, and why he was not doing when Narasimhamurti was saying? Obviously his bhakti towards Swami is the reason for it. If bhakti was not there, Jnana Vairagya is not possible. That is why I explained. Jnana Vairagya Siddhyartham Bhiksham Dehi. Oh Lord, give me that Bhiksha of Jnana Vairagya. But how do you go to the Lord? You must have some bhakti. What kind of bhakti? Not apara bhakti, I want this, no, chame bhakti, nahi. Hey, go with para bhakti. I want Jnana Vairagya. So that bhakti ultimately will lead you to Jnana Vairagya. That change is being seen. So that is the ultimate way. So these 2 weeks are done. Somewhat you have understood, you have tried some Vairagya, and so to some extent you are successful. Let us see next 2 weeks how do you do it. Based on that you will know how successful you have been. So now what I am trying to do, I don't even want you to think of those objects or ideas. Don't even pay attention. If they come, let them come and go. If a bird flies or across the window, you just watch the bird fly, that's it. Let those thoughts come and pass. Because now you have enough strength not allow the body to follow them. So that much you have developed the discrimination and some bit of vairagya, some strength to keep yourself under control and don't go simply influenced as he said, as if drawn by some other force outside of me. So those things are there. These will come, they will trouble even during meditation. Those thoughts will start coming, going. Whenever they're coming, you take that sword of vairagya, just cut it off and just stay. Otherwise, let them pass. If they're just ordinary thoughts, I met that person, I went there, these are ordinary thoughts they're going. But then the thoughts start turning into desire, better nip them in the bud. I went there, I saw them, it's fine. I feel like going and seeing them again, cut it off. I had a nice dosa in the morning, no problem. Maybe I should have one more dosa tomorrow, I should have had to cut it off. I saw this a nice video, it was nice thing. I want to see it once more, cut it off. Like this, you should keep discriminating between thought and desires, because you have practiced to some extent, I hope so. So now you will be able to differentiate between what is a passing thought, a fleeting thought, versus what has the potential to become a desire and stick to you. That is what is. One man jumped into the river, seeing a black blanket, floating by. So the others thought, oh, there is this fellow, he said, I'll get a blanket which is simply getting wasted. He jumped in and caught hold of the blanket to pull it out. But then what happened? The blanket also caught hold of him because it was not a blanket, it was a bear. Now this fellow wants to get rid of the blanket, but the blanket does not want to get rid of him. Everybody is saying, leave that blanket, you will die if you continue. He said, I want to leave the blanket, this blanket is not leaving me. Because he went too close to it. He should have left it. If he caught, that is why that caught you. Desires then didn't catch themselves, they did not come and catch you first. You caught them, you gave the hand, so they caught your hand. Had you not given the hand in the first place, they wouldn't have caught you. They would have passed by with the flow of the thoughts. That desire of the blanket with the flow of the river would have passed away. But since you got attached to it, you jumped in, you gave your hand, it caught your hand. Now you cannot get rid of it. Now it's so difficult to get rid of it. It is breaking you all the way down. Buddhi nashat pranashyati. So you have to be very, very careful with your desires. So now observe your thoughts. If those thoughts come and they have a potential to turn into a desire, which desire? Be it tamasic, be it rajasic, be it sattvic, any desire. Chop it. If you don't do that with the help of this Vairagya Viveka, we are back to square one. This Brahmasmi, all that is not going to work. It's not going to work. So that kind of thing, you have to be very clear right now. And we have taken one of the two most powerful mantras. Mananat Trayate iti mantra. That which redeems us by its constant contemplation, that is mantra. Means what? Mananat Trayate. It is not said Shravanat Trayate. It is not said if you speak Uchyat Trayate. No, only Mananat Trayate. It means what? I don't want you to shout Aham Brahmasmi from your windows. That's not the exercise. When Janaka was sitting and shouting Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi, so Ashtavakra came. He saw this Janaka is, little overdoing it a bit. So he sat by his side with his Kamandalu and Danda and said, this Danda is mine, this Kamandalu is mine, this Danda is mine, this Kamandalu is mine. So Janaka said, what's wrong with this Ashtavakra today? Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahma. Danda is mine, Kamandalu is mine. Danda is Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahma. Danda is mine, Kamandalu is mine. Then Janaka stopped and said, what is going on? Why you are saying? We all know that Danda is yours, that Kamandalu is also yours. Who said it is not yours? He turned and said, who said you are not Brahman? Who said you are not Brahma? Why are you shouting? I am Brahma, I am Brahma, I am Brahma. Who said you are not Brahma? You are Brahma, everybody knows. Don't have to tell anybody. Likewise, Mananat Trayate. Not by shouting it louder and louder and louder. You can't attain it. Na medhaya, na bahuna shrutena. By intelligence and by speaking it aloud or listening to it, it's not going to come. It comes by manana. So you sit down in your quiet corner in a corner, say, Manana, Aham Brahmasmi. What a beautiful thought it is. What a beautiful thought. I always tease our children. If your mother calls you a devil, you believe it. If your teacher calls you a donkey, you believe it. When Guru calls you Brahman, find hard to believe it. Because devilish qualities are there. Everybody knows, like he was telling. How can I be with God? I'm so devilish, I'm demonic. We believe it. When somebody teaches says you're an absolute donkey, katte they call it. You believe it. Yes, I am a katte. But when God calls you, you are Brahman. Why should be so hard to believe? And not me. Why should you take it? That is why all the time I'm giving Shastra Pramanas. Because whoever listens to the discourses should not think this is some one person's own imagination thought. No, this is what rishis have shouted. Amrutasya putra, Shunvantu Vishwe, Amrutasya putra, they've been shouting on the top of their voice. Therefore, I believe in this truth first. When you believe, you live. Believe to live. Believe I am Brahmasmi and then you live. So there are 7 steps. We are another halfway through the journey right now. There are 7 steps to realization, they say in Vedanta. This is from the Panchadashi of Vidyaranya Swami, who was also Vidyaranya. We heard about him. He was in a way instrumental in founding the which empire? Vijayanagara Empire with Hakka and Bukhara. So that one, finally he gave up, took sannyasa, went to Sringeri, settled down and became the Pitadipati And then he continued and wrote a lot of nice scriptures. Some of these things, some of his scriptures are very, very good, and Panchadashi is one. Anyway, in that what he says is, 7 steps are there for one to attain Vedantic truth. First is Ajnana, total ignorance. You don't know anything about it. So you don't believe, you don't know it, you don't believe it. You don't see it, so you think that it is not there. Ajnana. Next one is Avarana. You are blinded, unable to see the truth. Something is there that he said, Satyasya Mukham. That cover is there on the Satya, like the lid, like the cover. So Avarana, you are not able to see. Then Vikshepa. You see it wrongly. You see it, but then you see it wrongly because of some mistake in you, some fault in you. Fourth is Paroksha Anubhuti. You learn from the scriptures what the truth is. You have not experienced it, you are still Ajnani, you are still confused about it. Paroksha Anubhuti. Somebody comes and tells you that our scriptures say you are Brahman. Really? Am I? Yes, you are. Are you sure? Definitely, 100% sure. Where is it written? Here, Aham Brahmasmi, Brihadaranyaka. Here it is written. Read. Okay, let me believe that it is written. But how do I know that I am really Brahman? Practice. Manana. That is Pratyakshanubhuti. Your direct experience comes to you. I feel something changing in me. I feel a new me in me. Something is happening. I feel so calm, so peaceful. Am I getting any closer to that? Yes, you are getting closer. As you get closer to light, you see more and more. If you go closer to the mountain, you see details of the mountain. That is how Upanishads explain. From far, a mountain is a figure. Nandi Hills is look at a figure. But as you start walking closer, you see the stones, you see the bushes, and then you can see what fruits are there in which bush or which tree. So as you get closer, you should be able to feel that. I'm getting peaceful. My desires are diminishing. I don't have unnecessary temptations. I have a decent control over my body and my senses. I just don't get drawn like how I used to get drawn earlier. You will see these changes. It means what? Some Parokshanubhuti has started. Pratyakshanubhuti has started from Paroksha. All this while is Paroksha. Till these 2 weeks it is Paroksha only, because somebody is telling and you are listening. Have you understood directly Pratyaksha? No. So that Pratyaksha or Aparoksha Anubhuti is yet to come. And only when it comes, your Vairagya is fulfilled, you're complete, your Vairagya is stable, permanent. Otherwise it will go dwindling down any time. Be very careful. After that, what happens? Once you know the truth, experience the truth, Dukkha Nivritti. 6th step. My all sorrows are gone. I don't have any attachment to anything left. Where the sorrow is born, what is the root of sorrow? Attachments. If some neighbor's wife dies, will you cry? Your wife dies, you will cry. If some neighbor has lost a car or got stolen, at the best you can go and speak a few words of consolation. Yo, that was very bad, so sorry, so sad. Have you reported to the police? But really, do you feel the pain of that neighbor's loss? You don't feel. Why? Because it is not yours. You are not attached to it. That is how Dukkha Nivritti. When you realize the truth, you will stop getting attached to anything, including your own body. Including your own body, you will get detached. You will keep it at a distance. Body is there, I am here. As I told you about the Drishya Drik Viveka. Pillar is there, I see the pillar. Or table is there, or podium is there, I see the podium. So I am different from what I see. When I see my thoughts, I am different from my thoughts. When I see my body, I am different from my body. When I see myself acting, I am different from the one who is acting. In the sense, physical instrumentation is the body, and I am the inside who is watching it. So I distance myself. Deham pratakritva, that is what this man, our Ashtavakra says. Yadi deham pratakritva. If you make your body little distanced from yourself, you will see things clearly. If you keep things too close, you can't see clearly. Too far, you can't see it clearly. So right distance you should keep your body at. It's mine, but I am not that. Then you will see everything at the right distance in the right way. No problem, no parallax colors, no myopia, no nothing. Correct distance, correct vision. So that is Dukkha Nivritti will happen, and the moment you realize that Ananda Prapti is the natural end product of this exercise, 7 steps. So very beautifully our Vedanta, again describes with a beautiful story. Since 10 children, 10 Gurukula students went somewhere. They were crossing the river. It It was a big storm, the river was in full spate. And with great difficulty, they crossed the river and went to the other side. And went to the other side, what happened? They all were tired, they thought we will rest for some time. And after they rested, the leader thought, let us count if all of us have crossed the river or somebody is drowned. So he said, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Only 9 are there, he said. Looks like one has drowned. The next fellow said, let me count, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You're right, one of us is drowned. Like that third fellow counted, fourth fellow counted. Actually, all 10 fellows counted, but they counted only 9. Ajnana, first step. I can't see the person. I can't see the 10th person. He's there, of course, but I can't see. Avarana. Count. Ajnana combined with avarana. I can't see, therefore he's not there. So what happens? You make a conclusion. He must have drowned. Because my counting is showing it is 9. I can't see the 10th person at all. I can see only 9 people. Therefore, I am right. Like that, you make an erroneous conclusion, that is vikshepa. You make a mistake. And then what happens? Dukkha. Oh, the 10th person has died, the 10th person died. All 10 will cry, the 10th person has died. Some jnani, walks by. He sees all these people crying. What happened, boys? Why are you crying? Oh, one of our colleagues and one of our friends has drowned and died. Oh, really? How did it happen? We were crossing the river, we were 10 of us. Now only we are 9 of us. The jnani says, are you sure you are 10 actually? No, we are 9. We are quite sure. We all have counted. Everybody has found only 9 are there. So what does the jnani say? Let me count for you. So he counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You are 10 people. No, we counted. We are 9. Okay, you count it for yourself. So far you came with the paroksha anubhuti. The jnani told you are 10. Nobody is missing here. Everybody is there. But you can't believe it. You are Amritasya Putra. I can't believe it. I am a Rakshasa Putra. I can believe. Amritasya Putra, quite difficult. I get so angry. I get so irritated. I get so infatuated. I get so desirous. I get to all kinds of things. I can't believe I am Amritasya Putra. He says, no, you are. The scripture said, and I am counting. See, the 10 are there. So they tell, okay, let me count. Because now you want to have a direct experience. Swami says you are Brahman. But I don't know whether I am Brahman or not. Let me experience it for myself. So what happens? He starts counting. How does he count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I told you only 9 were there. Then he turns the hand. Look inside. You are the 10th. I am the 10th. Oh, really? I am the 10th. Then the first fellow leader is very happy. I found out that we all 10 are there. But the others are not happy. They said, wait, we will also count. Why should we believe you? Because that is still a parokshanubhuti. That is not pratyakshanubhuti. That is not direct experience. You have got it, you became happy. What about the happiness of the rest? So the first fellow counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Turn the hand towards himself. 10. Yes, 10. I am also happy. I am relieved of this sorrow. Sorrow was not there in the first place. But is relieved somehow. Third counts, fourth counts, and everybody's finger is finally turned towards his own self by the Guru. And that's how they all learn that actually all of them are there and nobody drowned. What happens? Pratyakshanubhuti has come. Direct experience you have dukkha nivritti. All your sorrows disappear in a trice as if they were never there. Everybody is dancing, rejoicing that we all are there. Nobody died. Ananda prapti. You realize that you are there. You are not disappeared. You didn't die. It's very much there. But a guru is required to point that finger which goes only outside but doesn't. Avrutta chakshu. You have to turn the vajan inwards because paranchikani vyatrit swayambhu tasmat paran pashyati na antaratma. All these senses look outside and don't look inside. That is how they've been created. We have been talking about it. So what should we do? The dhira turns his vision inwards. And that is what a guru teaches. Turn your vision inwards and you know that you are Brahman. Am I Brahman? Oh, I am so relieved. So all this is samsara, maya or moha is not going to affect me. No. Janma, mrityu, jara, marana, nothing affects you. Oh, I am so relieved. I am so happy. Ananda prapti. At the end, these are 7 steps of Vedanta. Very logically explained. So which step are you in? Right now you are trying to be in the Fourth step. What is the fourth step? Aham Brahmasmi. Atmanam Vijanita. Ayam Asmi iti Purusha. What happened to him? Once he knows Atmanam Vijanita, I know Atmanam, what happens? I am Asmi, first realization that I am there. I am Asmi iti Purusha. He realizes that I am there. What a realization it is. He was always there. But once he knows the Atman only, he is there. Till he knows the Atman, he is not there. Like these foolish people who are counting 9. You don't count yourself in as God. You count yourself as body, mind, or whatever. Only when Atmanam, when you know the Atman yourself, I am Asmi iti, I am there. Ah, what a relief. Kimichan, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Kimichan, what desires will be left for that person who knows Atman? What is desire for him? Nothing is there. Why should he worry about his body anymore? Because he has realized that he was always there. What he was desiring for, where is my 10th colleague, where is my 10th colleague? But once he knows he is the 10th colleague, he is relieved. Why should he worry himself anymore? That is the idea of Brahmagyana, that relieves you of a sorrow which never was. I lost money, I lost my wife, I lost my name, I lost my job, I lost this, I lost that, I'm so miserable. It's because you didn't count correctly. That is the reason for your misery. So dukkha nivrutti will be the first thing that you will experience. After you even have svalpam apyasya, little bit of that experience, first thing you are relieved. Suddenly your burdens, as if a big boulder on your shoulder has been taken away. Ashtavakra says, the realization of that is, as if a big huge boulder that you were carrying, no, this is Dattatreya. It's been suddenly somebody comes and takes it off your back. You feel so relieved. That kind of feeling is the first feeling comes out of this realization of Aham Brahma. These priests come, they chant, I love it. Aham asmi, soham asmi, aham asmi, brahma asmi, they chant in the yajna. Aham asmi, soham asmi, aham asmi, brahma asmi. I feel so happy because they're continuously telling themselves, because we have to tell, like the 10th fool who cannot know how to count. We are like that. We are not able to know that we are only Brahman, we are only the missing one. And we struggle and suffer and cry and lament and then, go from here to there looking for joy, happiness to reduce your sorrows. Nothing happens. Because till you learn to count it right, there is no redemption for your sorrow. All life and lives to come, you can keep it counting wrongly, you can keep counting and be miserable with yourself. So that is the beauty of Atma Vidya. Which first, who benefits from it? You benefit. Because you become redeemed of a sorrow that never was. That is the tamasha of it. It was never there. You thought it was there and you suffered all this while. The moment you thought, Aham asmi iti, I am there. How are you there? Brahma. I am as Brahman. Aham Brahma asmi. I am not asmi as an ordinary man. I am Purushaha. I am the ultimate one. Asmi. How you are Asmi? Brahma Asmi. Not boy Asmi, girl Asmi, old Asmi, young Asmi, student Asmi, teacher Asmi. No. Brahma Asmi. Aham Asmi, Brahma Asmi, Soham Asmi, Brahma Asmi. Amazing chants from the Vedas. But then the problem with me is that why did I give you 2 mantras? First mantra could have redeemed you of everything. Isn't it? But the problem is that there is a small risk with the first mantra because you will be chanting without realizing. Suddenly 2 horns will start growing on you. I am God, I am God. Suddenly you will start, you're 1 inch above the ground always. And you'll treat everybody else as if they are not God. See, look at them, they have not realized, they didn't even put any effort, they didn't even reach anywhere. Such lowly, unevolved creatures. That's why I told, even if you realize it, or you get closer to that realization. Once you realize, there is no doubt. But this half realization is very dangerous. Halfway through, but you start considering yourself superior. Swayam Pandita, Manyamana. I am already a Pandita. Like yesterday, our Brahmasmi story. Everybody says, I am a Brahmagyani. Till somebody says that the king will be cured with the half pound of flesh from Brahmagyani's thigh. I am not Brahmagyani anymore. Because they'll come and call my thigh and take away flesh. I am not a Brahmagyani. So this half Brahmagyani is dangerous. So for half Brahmagyanis, I gave the other truth also, other half of the truth. What is the other truth? Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. As I meditate upon this idea that I am Brahman, I should not get caught in this half knowledge. Half knowledge is dangerous, they say. So I should also simultaneously remember that just now the wife that scolded me and went, just now the teacher who shouted at me and went, just now the child who irritated me and went, just now the friend who came and was so rude to me and went, they are also Brahman only. I have to accept that equally. If I call myself Brahman, I should call everybody else also Brahman, despite how they behave, what they do, what they say. Otherwise, your knowledge will be half. Half knowledge is dangerous. It will be even worse. That is why he said yesterday, no? Andha tama pravishanti te. Those who know, those who follow this avidya, that is karma kandas and chame people, they enter the loka which is very dark. Andham, blinding darkness is there. And those who know, that is the Vidya Maya, they enter even worse than that loka, they say. What does it mean? Those who don't know, they don't know. They are going to darkness. Those who know half, that is what Ishavasya Upanishad warns such people, half Gyanis. I have been following all this Vedanta and path and all that thing, so I deserve better heaven than this karma kandis. I'm a Gyan Kanda person. Then what happens? You have not realized Brahman, you are halfway through, start thinking you have realized or you deserve more than others, you will enter a darker hell than the previous ones. That is the meaning of Isavasya, that they very carefully present that idea, that don't take arrogance in being. A lot of Vedantis develop a kind of superiority feeling and air about themselves. Look at these Bhakti Margi people, full-time bhajan. Where is the bhajan like Totapuri to Ramakrishna? What is that? You're running behind that mother like a baby, catching the sari and running behind. Amma. Grow up. Let's get into Vedanta. Let's realize Atman. And what happens? Ramakrishna realizes just like that. Totapuri took 40 years. Ramakrishna doesn't take a few minutes to get into that samadhi. Because it's purified mind. First day I told Chitta Shuddhi for Atma Siddhi. So 2 weeks you have worked on Chitta Shuddhi only. Now these 2 weeks work on Atma Siddhi. Half work you have done. And as I said, the second half of this will depend on the effort that you really sincerely put in the first half. If you have not put any great effort in the first half, the second half is more or less will be a hogwash. It won't lead much results. As I said, you sit on the shores of the ocean and watch the ocean, that's it. You'll never get the pearls. Like those flies which hover around the glass of juice but never jump. That will be the plight of all those who have actually sincerely not put efforts in the first 2 weeks. But if you really put Swalpamapyas, a little bit also you really put effort in the first 2 weeks, you'll enjoy the next 2 weeks. As you feel lighter and lighter and lighter in the body, in the mind, in your heart, you feel like light and light and light. You'll feel so happy. Light and delight, both you'll feel. Suddenly you'll feel a huge big boulder which was on your back so far has been removed. You feel so relieved. If you don't understand, please carry a boulder tomorrow and see for yourself and put it down and feel the relief. So you understand what I'm saying. This is what Atma Vidya is about. So why we have to work on it? For our own sake. Atmano mokshartam. For our own sake we have to work for it. Because we become better, world becomes better. How? By one person at a time. You can't change 7.5 billion people. I can change myself. Begin there. Once I change, I have 7.5 minus 1% to change. That's progress. Otherwise, we keep lamenting whole life. 7.5 billion people on earth. Soon in another 2-3 years, we'll be 10-12 billion. We don't know where we are going. At least you will reduce the burden of the earth by one person. And that person is who turns the finger this way, not this way. You change, you improve, you people, you practice, you do sadhana, you useless people. You people who are not interested in spirituality. No, I am not interested in what others are, what they are doing, not doing. Yadam vyatmati dadgati, that is, leave it to them. You turn the finger towards yourself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, turn. When you turn, I am asmi iti. I am there. How you are there? Brahmasmi iti. I am there as Brahman, not as an ordinary man, ordinary woman. I am there as the ultimate Paripurna Brahman. But the realization will come slowly. Yad bhavam tad bhavati. If you believe God, dust you think, dust you are. God you think, God you are. As you think, so you become. Brahadaranyaka Atmanam vijanita. Ayam asmi iti purushaha. Good Swami, this is really making sense. Dust you think, dust you are. God you think. Well, this is a very nice quotation to print and forward. That is what it is. You get rid of ignorance, you immediately dukkha nivritti, ananda prapti. So now you have done some work. Agyani you came. Let us say, not all are agyanis, but at least they had some jnana, but not full. Then from there was some bit of avarana was there. What kind of avarana? I am this body, I am the mind, these are all my people, this is my family, this is my work, this is my ideas, these are my ambitions, these are my desires. All these are avarana. Because of that you count wrongly. Vikshepa. You consider yourself the body and suffer with it. Instead of considering yourself with the divine and enjoy it. You suffer with it. Then what happened? A guru came by. Who said what? You are counting it wrong. I don't believe you. I will teach you how to count it right. Come. And we all learned how to count it right. Then we said, no, you don't count. I will count it for myself. That's what you are going to do now. We are halfway through the journey. 2 weeks of this has taken from Ajnana to Paroksha Jnana. Now Pratyaksha Jnana, Dukkha Nivritti, Ananda Prapti is in your hands. See, this far only Guru will come with you. Beyond that, it is your job. This far I can come with you. To help you, tell you the Shastra Pramana, to tell you what it is. Here onward, the effort is in your hand. To experience, how can I eat for you? How can I breathe for you? How can I sleep for you? Then how can I realize for you? I can teach you how to realize. I can teach you the path, the method, the methodology. All this I can teach you. Beyond that, how can I come with you? Here onwards, you have to count it for yourself. I can't count it for you. You have to count and know this is the right method. So here and the next 3 steps, starting with Brahmasmi and Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, to actually realization of that knowledge in some way, even a little way. Even once you touch the sky and come, you will know what it is. That job is in your hand. I cannot go behind you with that. I have taught you whatever I could teach you so far. Beyond that is totally in your hands. Your purity, your sincerity, your shraddha, your bhakti, your determination, dhriti, that is what will help you from here onwards. So now as you go about, please think on these thoughts very deeply, that now the ball is in my court, and what I make out of it is all totally dependent on me. My Guru has taught me whatever he had to teach, he has guided me, he has shown me the way, shown me the path. Walking is my job. He's not going to put me on his shoulders and carry me all the way. I have to walk for myself. And what is this walking? Mananat trayate. Just meditate. As you're walking, talking, moving around, let this thing keep going on in the background. Aham brahmasmi sarvam kalvidam brahma. Aham brahmasmi sarvam kalvidam brahma. Aham brahmasmi sarvam kalvidam brahma. Even some people said, what is kalvidam? They didn't understand. I said, okay, forget kalvidam. Sarvam brahma you tell. Aham brahma, sarvam brahma. Aham brahma, sarvam brahma. That is also enough. Don't get into technicalities. Kalvidam, kavulidam, khagiladum. Somebody was teaching. Tell, aham brahmasmi, sarvam kalvidam, sarvam kaduvilam. No, kalvidam, kavidal, Kalvidam. He doesn't know Sanskrit. What will he do? Papam. I said, forget Kalvidam, throw it out. Sarvam Brahma. Can you understand that? Ah, that I understand. Good. Sir, Aham Brahma, Sarvam Brahma. At least start there. Don't have to go so technically with the Upanishads. Aham Brahma, Sarvam Brahma, I told him. Can you do this much? Of course I can do this. Then please do. Please meditate on this thought. Aham Brahmasmi, Sarvam Brahma. Aham Brahmasmi, Sarvam Brahma. So that it will save you from the danger of the half knowledge that I alone am becoming God. Seems like nobody else around me is interested in becoming God. I am only becoming God. Suddenly you will come and declare yourself one day, I am God. Like Janaka, Aham Brahmasmi. That can happen. Very dangerous. What did Swami tell always? He told, I am God, so are you. So Aham Brahmasmi is, I am God. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma is, so are you. Isavasyam idam sarvam yat kinchat jagatyam jagatta. All that we see, what moves and does not move, everything is Isha. Everything is permeated by the Lord, Isha. That thinking also should come. Otherwise, what will happen for in your corner of the room when nobody is bothering you and you're up with yourself, you will develop that peace. You step out, get into a conflict, get into an argument, into a debate, into a meeting, or somebody points out some mistake of yours, Brahma will come back. That danger should also go away when you chant that everybody else also is divine, not just me. And that vision will be complete. We have two eyes, 2020. 2020 means one eye knows I am Brahman, one other eye knows everything is Brahman. Then you see clearly. Otherwise you will have Vikshepa. Vikshepa means the erroneous judgment. You can't judge how far the thing is. Some people cannot see properly. They can't see the steps. They fall. Because they can't judge the distance correctly. Because their eyes are not proper. So then you will fall someday or the other. To avoid that, consider everybody also as divine. As you think you are divine, consider everything. What a beautiful feeling. You are immersed in divine. Somebody said, God is in me or I am in God. Which is true? They asked me. God is in me or I am in God. Which is true? I told, neither God is in you nor you are in God. You are God. That is true. That is what I am taking you. Dvaita is, Bhakti is, God is in me or I am in God. Advaita is, I am God. There is no in, out and, is the wave in the ocean, ocean in the wave. Wave is the ocean. This Rupa Nama is only temporary aberrations. Can you separate the wave from the ocean? Then it won't be wave at all. It's a piece, part of the ocean. Tasmad Vidwan Nama Rupa Vimukta. After giving up this differentiation of Nama and Rupa, the Vidwan, Parat Param Paramupaiti Divyam, attains the Parat Para, attains Paramupaiti, goes to the Parat Param Divyam, the divine self. How? Yatha Nadyaha, how Nadi, a river, Sandamanaha goes on its way towards what? Samudriyaste, ends in the ocean. Gachanti Namarupa Vihaya, giving up the names and forms, the rivers merge into the ocean. Same way, Tasmad Vidwan Namarupa Vimukta. Vimukta Namarupaya means basically they get rid of these external names and forms, because when you go around and see that's a boy, that's a girl, that's a I think it's a old man, I think it's a young man, and this is a mountain, that is a river, this is a home, that is out, this is wife, that is friend, this is children. Namarupa Vihaya. So the moment you realize that Namarupas were the wrong counting, that is the reason why you are counting it wrong. And distance yourself a little from this Namarupa business. I am Asmiti. Realization comes, I am there, I am not drowned. I am not drowned, I am there. That feeling will come. And that is something you have to experience for yourself. This very technically Vedanti says there are 5 things. Amsha Panchakam, 5 things. Asti, Bhati, Priyam, Nama, Rupa. Nama Rupa is the lower Vidya. When you know people by Ram. Asti, Bhati, Priyam is the higher Brahman. Asti means it is. Asmi, Asmi iti. Soham asmi iti, that is it is. Bhati means it can be known. It's not a scriptural injunction that has to be read and repeated. It can be known that you are that. And what is the nature of that? Priyam, Anandam, Sat Chit Anandam, same thing. Asti Bhati Priyam. But when you get rid of this Nama and Rupa business, then what remains is Asti, you are. Bhati, you are aware that you are. And Priyam, full of love, full of Ananda. That is the nature once you drop these two Nama and Rupa. Even if temporarily you do that, at least for a moment the curtain parts, we have the vision of the divine. Meera sings, Gungat, she compares herself with the new bride. She wants to see this means she see her beloved as the bride, and here is the groom who wants to see the face of the beloved. So praise, please, for once you lift your gungat, means the cover on your face, just once you lift it for me, I want to see your beautiful face. Just once, lift this. Once you lift me, I just want to see, I know you are there, I know you are very beautiful, I know you are, nobody or nothing in the world is as beautiful as you. Satyam Shivam Sundaram you are. Just once for me, lift it. I just had to have a look at your face. That is the prayer. Please reveal yourself to me. It is said very clearly, whom it will reveal? Those who want it, it will come to them. Those who don't want it, why should it go to them? So you have to want it. You have to request it. That I am ready. That he said, I am the person who is following Satya Dharma. Please reveal yourself to me. Because I am yearning for it. I am craving for it. I am pining for it. Even I am putting good efforts to see you, to know you, to experience you. Please reveal that. Remove that cover. Remove that curtain. Lift your veil. Let me have a look at what it is. Asti Bhati Priyam. Let me have a look. That prayer should be on your lips. Mind should be continuously thinking. Mananat Trayate. Continuously thinking. Aham Brahma, Sarvam Brahma. If that is easier for you, just say that and keep telling yourself every moment. Even when you wake up in the middle of the night to go to the washroom, what should be going on in your head? Aham Brahma, Sarvam Brahma. Aham Brahma, Sarvam Brahma. Or Aham Brahmasmi, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Whichever is easier for you. Keep repeating to yourself. As you're drinking water, mind should be there. As you're eating food, mind should be there. Walking back to the room, instead of chatting here, there, discussing, should be. That's why I said, even if you don't have maunam, mananam is not possible. With maunam alone, mananam will come. If you talk every time and go everywhere, do everything, think of all kinds of things, how can you do mananam on this thought? So maunam has to go along with this mananam of this thought. That's why I said start cutting. But I also know very well, first day itself I tell you, give up everything, stop speaking tomorrow. It is not possible. You will frustrate yourself. And sometimes this is urgency also, you will, very, immaturely behave. No, I will not speak, Swami will not speak. No, that is coming next week. That is coming next week. But this week, some relaxation so that you are able to develop that capacity. Slowly build your capacity till next week. And next week, let us see if we can shut down all the activities of the ashram with basic bare minimum activities. Means if you go to the canteen, you don't have to tell what you need or what you don't need. You just go there. Everybody knows what is there. You pick up your things and go to your table, eat, go to your room. No socializing, spiritualizing, nothing is required. You and yourself, that's all should be left in the next week. So that is even a little more, in terms of stricter, but more relieving, because you're getting closer to the peak. Look at the view from there. Somebody told me, Swami, I was very happy with this Dvaita business. You are there, I am there, I'll come for bhajans, I will sing your glory, I will think of you, I'll pine for you, crave for you. There is a sweet joy in all that stuff. I told you, you're settling down at a lower height of the mountain. You are not willing to go till the peak. From that height only you're feeling, oh, that's a great view. From Premdeep itself, you can see Chikbalapur. I go out and see. You can see the lake there and Chikbalapur. But from Anandam, so much better view. So you can come till the Premdeep, Dvaita Bhava, and be happy. Or you can go to Anandam and experience the Anandam of Advaita. See much more. The view is far beautiful. Don't settle down for the lower. You have come this far, good. From those bottom of the hill, you have come all the way up, at least till Dvaita Bhava. From Dvaita, rise now. And see everywhere the same divine, the principle. Everywhere is the same. Imagine your devotion to Swami will go up, billion times. When you realize, my God, I was dealing all the while with this personality. We just theoretically say, is God, Parabrahma, Paripurna, all this. Theory it is. When do you realize? When you realize Advaita, you realize who Swami is. Your respect, your love, your commitment, loyalty, devotion to Swami will go up billion times. Because you will know who he is. He's played a lot of games. You all know how Swami is. Swami will play games. Maya Manusha. And we all have fallen for those games. Who has not fallen? Tell me. Everybody has fallen for the game. And considered him as a man in a body, with some supernatural powers, or may not be, and somebody who is capable of building institutions and is known around the world as one big personality in terms of spiritual personality, famous, infamous, whichever way you take him. That's all our understanding, definition of Swami has remained in our hearts. Rest all is imagination. But you'll know for once what Swami is, who Swami really is, when he lifts the veil a little bit and shows his real face. You know how much more beautiful he is than what we think he is in the photos. How much more that beauty, that true Sundaram, Satyam, Shivam, that Sundaram is so Sundara, these bhajans cannot describe that beauty. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa. Sai Sundara you sing, that's no Sundara at all. The real Sundara is that. That you will know, so your bhakti also will go up. The Ramakrishna, when he understood Advaita and came back, he realized my mother only is in everything. So far, for him, mother was in temple. And theoretically, he knew mother is in all. But when he experienced that Advaita, his devotion went up several notches. And he told, my mother only is in everything. She is everything. His devotion was somewhere. That will happen to you also. Because you have truly understood, like a son understands what was father's love when he himself becomes a father. Till then, father's sacrifices are only theory. Like that, you will understand who that Sai is. What is the principle of Sai? Who that personality hiding behind this veil of a body frame? Who is that truly? You will know that, and your devotion will be somewhere. Never again the devotion will shake. That is the power of realizing Advaita, and you will develop love for everybody, continuous. They may mistake you, or superficially you will deal with them. Internally, nothing will happen. Like ocean. Mai Ananta Maham Bodha. This is such a great mantra from our Ashtavakra Gita. It has given so much strength to me. Mai Anantam Maham Bodhau. I am the great infinite ocean of bliss. Jagat Vichi Swabhavata. All the world is just but just waves on it. Udaitu va astamayatu. They rise and they fall. Name vriddhi na chakshati. Neither I grow because of that, nor I reduce because of them. Nor I increase or decrease. Does not happen to me, even though on the surface the waves keep moving up and down. But I am the great ocean of bliss. I am Ananta, infinite, Mahabodha. Great ocean I am. What a relief, you have no idea. That is why I am saying, like the 10th fellow suffering, and Guru coming and telling, fools, count it right. Why should he stop? Let them cry, he could have gone and no. Let me help them. Papam, children are crying. Why they are crying? In ignorance they are crying. They are suffering in ajnana. I can see all 10 are there. They don't see it. Let me show them how to find it out. That is the compassion of the Guru who walks by, stops his business to deal with you and tell you this is ignorance. Please get rid of it, count it right, know the truth, become free from the sorrow that never was, and become the Ananda that you always were. That is the purpose of this exercise. So these 2 weeks are totally in your hands. What comes out of it? Totally in your hands. Grace is there, proportionate to your effort. In fact, disproportionately high to your efforts. Grace is there right now. Little effort, lots of grace. So that effort you put, reduce interactions, unnecessary interactions, 50 sentences I just put as a mark for you to understand where you stand in your life presently. If I don't put anything, nobody will know what is more and what is less. Some standard. Now come back to 40 sentences tomorrow, 36 day after, 20, finally come to 0. It means you hardly spoke that day. And the next 1 week, I don't want you to speak at all. If at all you open your mouth, sing the glory of the Lord. Listen to the glory of the Lord with your ear, otherwise shut everything. Okay, those who are children, they ask a few questions, you will answer them. But as an individual, on your own account, on your own initiative, on your own accord, I won't speak. Somebody asks something is very important, I must reply. As a duty, I will reply. But I will not do it. Sarvarambha parityagi. I will not start the conversation. I will not begin it. I will keep it to myself. If somebody calls, somebody asks, something is important, I'll inform. Okay, this is what it is. That also minimum contraction. Minimum words you explain. And done. Come back. Aham Brahmasmi, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Aham Brahma, Sarvam Brahma. Keep on, that let the mananam happen. You'll become that. You'll become that at some point in time.